branding is a pretty big topic. We have three come on up. Three smart leaders. I think, I don't know if I need to introduce these people, but I will, and perhaps they can introduce themselves. Diane Turton, of Diane Turton Real Estate, obviously the president and CEO. Next is Ed Krafchow. He is the president and CEO of Better Homes and Gardens, Mason McDuff. And Noelle Bortfeld, who's the EVP Marketing for Windermere Real Estate. So this session, again, it's going to be about marketing, more branding. We're going to encourage questions, and we're going to help you align the corporate brand to the broker to the agent, and things that could be done in 2011 that agents can take away or brokers can take away of how to improve brand and therefore improve their footprint and market share. Noelle, take it away.
Thank you, Eric. Am I mic'd? Everybody hear me okay if I get close? Okay. So as Eric mentioned, I'm with Windermere, and Windermere is basically a 10-state footprint. We have about 300 offices and 7,000 agents. And I have been with Windermere for about a year and a half, and I've learned a lot about the real estate industry because that is not the industry from which I come. So it was fun just to come in and have kind of a fresh perspective and look at how y'all do things. So I've learned a lot, but sort of brought a lot of my traditional marketing experiences, consumer packaged goods, technology, et cetera. And one of the things that I noticed was in the area of branding, there was more of the company brand, and then there was these personal agent branding stuff. And I said, wow, back where I come from, that's called co-branding. It's not a new concept, but I was shocked at the spectrum of type of branding that was going on at a personal level. I would say things like, well, what's with the parrot on the shoulder? And, well, that's their brand. I'm like, okay, that's their brand. So, and the fun, cheesy little taglines like spouses that sell houses. That's their brand. So, wow, I got some education to do. So anyway, my first slide again is about co-branding. But when I did arrive at Windermere, it's not like we were the perfect company brand either. When I said, okay, so Windermere Blue, we got like McDonald's Golden Arches, we've got Starbucks Green. Why do I see 4, 5, 8 different blues? What are we doing out here? So really had to start to, I think the term back to basics has come up several times, and that was my presentation internally. Getting back to basics. We've got to corral this brand. It's gotten way too crazy over these 10 states. So just got the blue PMS 654 if anybody's curious. We really don't need 20, 30 fonts out there. So really starting to pull that back together too. And this is like one of my favorite slides. When I was interviewing, I actually brought this to the attention of the ownership, and they were like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's what's going on out there. Our logo is 3 colors. It's the little diamond thing is a blue and a gray, and then Windermere's in black. And it does have the word real estate underneath it, but many times the real estate would be dropped. Colors were being exchanged. It was mayhem. Cats and dogs were living together. So really, before you can start any of that co-branding, you need to have your material, at least your materials, your graphic standards in order, and make it look like they're coming from the same company. That upper right ad, these are all Windermere ads, listing ads from various geographies that I've kind of pulled together. I swore the upper right one was a Century 21 ad, but it was crazy. So we're really starting to clean up. These are the exact same ads, just starting to, from a graphic standards standpoint, get a little bit better branding. And really, let's make sure all the materials, whether we're using direct mail or any of that stuff is digital world, everything, let's make this really consistent. Okay, so once we get our house in order, now it's time to do effective co-branding. I don't think I could really go out and preach branding too much to our agent population unless we had our own house in order. So, as I mentioned, co-branding is not a new concept. You look at it in the apparel industry. On the left there's the Air Jordan shoe. That's basically Michael Jordan pairing up with Nike. You've got 2 different logos, the swoosh and the Air Jordan. Works. It's great. Very powerful brands that come together. Another example in the middle is Auric vacuum cleaners, real high quality brand, partnering up with Arm & Hammer. So by partnering up with Arm & Hammer, it actually enhances the Auric brand. And then my favorite, since I used to work there, Dibs. You got Dreyer's ice cream partnered with Nestle Crunch, and it makes a great Dibs product. So they're really leveraging two brands effectively without diluting one or the other. So when I talk, and we use these terms, agents, brokers. In Washington, agents are no longer called agents, they're brokers. So sometimes I'll say broker, but I mean agent. So really when I talk to our agent population, it's the same kind of discussion I have about a company brand. We want to talk about, how does Windermere differentiate itself? Well, how do you, agent, differentiate yourself? Why would I hire you versus the competition? And with any brand, how do you build recognition, trust, and loyalty that eventually translates into dollars? So some folks are part of these larger brands, and I've had agents that just shun it, and some who embrace it and maybe lean too hard on the Windermere brand and don't develop their own brand enough. So what I'm really trying to do is get everybody to strive for alignment for both. But one of my challenges is just to really help them understand what is a brand, because it's not, we don't tell fibs, we just sell cribs. That's not what we're talking about. Not those funny little lines or these, I do everything with a horse. It's just it's just not a background. It's just not a brand. So we really talk about positioning, because really you can go. I took Windermere through the positioning exercise for this target audience who need what. You are the product or the service or whatever that offers what functional benefits and what emotional benefits with what competitive advantage. So I call it like adult Mad Libs. You could just insert the right words there, but it's a very difficult exercise. It's not easy for people because, frankly, there's a lot of different target audiences. I mean, somebody might specialize in waterfront property. Those consumers need different things. You offer them different functional benefits. You offer them different emotional benefits. And I also really try and talk about how important emotion is in this business and the ability to connect with your consumers. These are the brand components. I'm not going to go through all of them because I'm getting cut off. Hopefully we can talk a little bit more about execution in the high quality world. And then also another example of just on the left there, this whole, it's a flyer that I got at my house. It's all these numbers, all this data. I'm Joe Consumer. I don't come from this industry. I don't know what this means. Why is this important to me? Help me understand it. And instead, I just kind of go, I'm overwhelmed. Crunch, throw it away. On the right, it's just a different way to execute the same thing. But you're really talking about why is this information important to you? Why would I even care about this? And some of the copy says, you can take comfort knowing that I track this for you. Well, you can take comfort is an emotional benefit that you're offering. So great, you're watching it for me so I don't have to. I get peace of mind. My last slide is just 3 points that I also try and talk a lot about. In this industry, I've noticed it's a lot of I, not enough you. Okay, so a lot of our language is I this, I this, I this. All you have to do is just add that end of the sentence so that you can benefit. So a little bit more of the I versus you, or more you versus I. Really trying to focus more on emotional benefits and less on functional, because functional is like it's like a playground that's one-upmanship and nobody's going to win. It's too easily duplicatable and it's a commodity. When you say I'm the most knowledgeable, no, you're not. There's going to be somebody that's more knowledgeable. But when you can have an emotional connection to a consumer, that's where you get the long-term loyalty. And lastly, a lot of the language is passive language versus more active language. And so those are some of the pieces of advice I'm trying to give my folks at Windermere. So I will next turn it over to...
Hold it, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Your slide on the brand components, the 8 components, are those new to people? Do you use those with your businesses in the corporate office, or those 7 elements? Or were those... Because in an ad agency, those are familiar to me. Ad agencies go through this. We used to use margarita machines with clients and go through these, and we got the greatest things ever. But is this new for real estate? Probably. Okay. There's some, at some point, it would be great to spend more time on this. I think this alone, going down these 7 topics, would be really interesting, and maybe in a subsequent session we can do this, because there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I could go through each one of those and talk probably about 10, 15 minutes on each, but it's so important because, that graphic standards was just one part of it, but like tone and voice and messaging, that consistency, so that you don't have people talking in different languages and creating a different perception of your brand. Just that alone, it's the brand consistency. So the ad agency that QuantumDigital used to fix the brand ID system for QuantumDigital cost us $300,000, but it was a really great exercise. The company was known as Quantum Systems, Quantum Mail, Quantum Print, you name it. But we went through that exercise, and it was a very expensive exercise. But you know what? I think it stands the test of time. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
We'll have lots of questions left, I'm sure. Ed?
First of all, Noelle, nice meeting you, and I can share with you that I've been in the business for a very long time, and I can't tell you the number of agents I've had to talk to about the 2 people that they had on their business card. They both had licenses. One had a real estate license, the other had a dog license. Trying to work through, and it's part of the discussion that we're going to have today, and in some ways we sort of flow together and away from each other, because part of my message will be that we need to work on branding at a local level, at the hyper-local level. I think that national branding or branding is very important. I think it gives you an access route, but I also think there's something else that's going on. I just want to share with all of you that I'm delighted to be in Austin today, and really looking forward to the day. I really enjoy the learning that takes place here, by the way. I think it's very, very good. This is one of the better conferences. Now that Steve's left, I can say that. We can keep moving. One of the conferences, and I do enjoy going to conferences, and I like the learning process. I went to a great conference this year called the Kelsey Conference, which is Interactive Local Media Conference. And I want to share with you that at that conference, there was a tremendous level of excitement because the code is being cracked for local search. So if you look at the internet over the past 15 years, much of it is dysfunctional around local search, but the code is now being cracked. And you know you're in trouble when you go into the vendor hallway where the exhibits are, and you only recognize 10% of the companies. So you have companies like Orange Fizz. I've never heard of them. But local search has caused tremendous excitement. So the title is Local Search, Global Brand, and followed that by Local Brand and Global Search, or Global Traffic. So if I can make this work correctly, which I can't.
The one on the right?
The one on the right. It's not moving. Are you locked? There we go. So if you really recognize that local search is the holy grail, whether it's Zillow or whether it's Trulia, Google, Microsoft, they've all been looking for ways to get into local search and to figure that out. And in some ways, I want to reflect back to the discussion this morning. I actually don't feel challenged by the local associations. I think my job and the job of real estate is to begin to drive local search at a differentiated level. That, in fact, that is the job of a broker. You know, the framework of a listing's nothing more than that. And the entertaining part, of course, is that a listing is reflected by the picture of the Ford Bronco and the garbage cans in front of the house, where no one can actually see the house. So MLS is not that big a deal to me anymore. I think we've got to better ourselves if you're really going to attract the consumer. So I'm going to give you a company that is growing very fast, and most of you have heard of it. It's Groupon. Now, one of the discussions this morning was, what do we do about, really what we're discussing is excess capacity. Here's a company that's developed a methodology for getting rid of excess capacity. It's an amazing company, and it functions everywhere, and it's moving very, very quickly. And this is local search, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, I can go out, get a haircut, get a lunch in San Francisco, and sometimes the discounts are 40, 50%. Of course, why are they offering that to me? Because they want me to come back. And so I found this one, and it's a great solution, Sherry, for your discussion this morning about the leases. And, whoops, got to go back. There it is. Here's such a deal. For $1 a day, I can get a desk in a local area. It's a discount of about 95% because it's $20 a day. I looked at this and I thought, this is a perfect solution for the real estate industry. All I have to do is go to this guy who's running this place, give him $30 a day for 30 desks, and promise him that no one will ever show up. So he could sublet them, and maybe I could get a piece of it, like 6% or something. And then things will really work out for me. That way I could close an office and everything will move on. So what we really got is we've got tremendous excess capacity. And now we're talking about getting fewer people in the business in order to remargin the business. I think the problems are rife with our business in such a way. Just want to point out to you that will there be, and this is just a thought starter, will there be a coupon for real estate? I'd like you to think about that, because people want a deal, and that's part of, by the way, where the internet lives from. Will there be a coupon for real estate? And what would that look like? And it's always fun to go to these conferences because you're surrounded by so many smart people. And I've been fortunate to have some what would be called gurus in my life, or people that are very, very smart. And one of them told me that if you have a company that is transacting 1 million emails, and they are transacting on a regular basis with you, your company's worth $100 million. It is not surprising that Google offered Groupon $6 billion, and they politely, I guess they politely declined as they continue to grow out. So up till now, you know, we really had a lot of discussions about national brands, national data aggregation, and really local boutiques. And the speed of local boutiques is very interesting, because given the fact that I'm not a local boutique, it's very interesting to watch the speed of those companies as they move, recognizing that in the internet, every Chihuahua can look like a German Shepherd. It doesn't matter anymore. So you really have to think about your business now as both boutique and brand worthy at a global level. So the advice right now is to niche down and think about the niches that you're in. One of the discussions this morning, by the way, was about knowing your market. Now there's a concept, before you even think about branding or rebranding or multiple branding, maybe you should think about who you're branding for and what is your message. And one of the problems we've always had as an industry is that we're an undifferentiated industry. I would challenge anybody to talk about what the difference is from a consumer's point of view in transacting a house with one brand or another. There's no real evidence that any of that's there. So I would say niche down, play to your market strength, play to your strengths. And I really like Chip's discussion this morning because I thought it was valuable, because he plays to what his strengths are. And each player has to play to what their strengths are. And identify and go for your market. And here's one of the problems we're having as an industry as I see it. We're actually so specialized right now that you can't see the market. The market's been obscured. So if you talk to an REO specialist, they'll tell you the market sucks. Talk to a short sale specialist, the market's fast. Talk to and in California we call them equity sales now. That was a new invention after about 2008. We actually have equity sales. So I know that about 17% of my business is REO. I know a certain percentage is short sale. I know a certain percentage. All of those markets require a certain approach, by the way, and certain specialization. But in the specialization, then it starts to obscure the market. And so the agent in the market doesn't actually know the entire market. And I think the job of a broker is to actually know what your market is. And I like to go from, 50,000 feet down to 5 feet, and I always enjoy spending time with agents, and I went out and had a lunch with one of my agents in a place called Moraga, California. And he was telling me that he was not having that good a year, and he's been one of the top producers. And we talked about Moraga, and here's one of the interesting pieces, is that in Moraga, 22% of all the sales that take place with a Chinese surname. So right now he's trying to hire a Mandarin-speaking assistant, because you have to go to where the market is, and if you really want to brand and have some fun with brand, then you have to think about who you're branding for. So, I'm glad Sherry's here. And happy to dialogue while she's here in the room. I'm pleased to be part of this organization, and it's an interesting organization because really what Better Homes and Gardens is a media company. And I want to suggest to you that there are two different kinds of approaches that we're going to be looking at, and that is, one is a marketing approach and the other is a media plan. When you really think about our business, what agents really need are media plans. They need an approach that's consistent and overlays their business. And something that locally identifies with their community, by the way. And that's really, really important. And just as someone was pointing out, local newspapers generating out of the internet, it's very much the same stuff. And finally, it's personal. Every agent has to brand for themselves. And this is where we struggle from, by the way. And there's some interesting little moments that happen behind that, and I will comment to them shortly. So here's the Better Homes and Gardens brand. It's a great brand. It's been around for a long time. This is the new Better Homes and Gardens, and there are some accents here that develop and look at living and lifestyle, which we think is very important now. And it'll be more important in the future, by the way, as we move out of this market. And it won't be important if we don't move out of this market, because we'll be still selling Bank of America homes, and they're not interested in lifestyle or advertising. So here's something that's a little known fact. Better Homes and Gardens as a magazine is one of the better selling magazines in China. So currently I've organized a group of my agents. We are negotiating with the Better Homes and Gardens Chinese magazine, and we will have an ad in there that says, if you're coming to San Francisco, we'll pick you up at the airport and tour you. Please don't use this, Gino. That would not be... It's okay. Yeah. Bob's on the phone right now. Oh, gosh. So I don't think you can apply to acquire Chinese clients unless you do speak the language, by the way. And we already have a significant amount of that traffic coming into the San Francisco Bay Area. So I think there's an opportunity for me, and I think there's probably other opportunities in other metros for like kinds of expressions. So I think one of the things I'm sort of pushing towards is expanding the brand in a different way in terms of the specificity and both hyperlocality in terms of being in that location. Now, I'll share with you that I live in San Francisco, and someone says, by the way, you're all nuts there. I mean, that's true, this craziness. But there's a leading edge craziness. I will share with you that I live down the block from a speakeasy. Isn't that amazing? A speakeasy, and I go to restaurants that are in alleys now that very few people know about. So what the speakeasy is it's a bar that has no brand at all, no signs, no nothing. And when these, I'm going to call them kids, want to have a party, they email the bar. The bar sets up a password, and the password goes out to all the friends, and then they have a party. And by the way, the same people that are advertising on Groupon are also now advertising how to find really good parties. So you can go to them. So it's socializing at the same time as it's businessifying, if you will. Here's the Chinese website, and I look forward to this. The only point I'm making is you can talk about local search, but you've got to talk about a global brand. You have to think both ways. You have to think both very large and very small at the same time. You can't just go very small, but you do have to think in both directions. This is my brand. It's Mason McDuffie Real Estate since 1887. At this point in the market, I feel like I've been there every day. And some of my agents would claim I have been. It's a great brand, and brands endure as they go forward. They endure because of the quality of the people that work within the organization, though. It's not simply a brand. Here are the new varieties of brands that we have. It's Mason McDuffie, it's Better Homes and Gardens Mason McDuffie, Better Homes and Gardens Sonoma Gold, Better Homes and Gardens Highland Partners. It has a ring to it because we are now embedded in looking at the local market and looking at that local market from a local market point of view. It's always been concerning to me that so many of the brands were exterminated, by the way, through the consolidation. There were so many brands that were lost as it went forward, if you will. I think this is a sort of a neat thing. The last piece here is that we also have elegant properties because we're going to have upper end branding, and we have a $12 million home listed in Piedmont through Highland Partners. And by the way, Highland is the main drag through Piedmont. That's why it's Highland Partners. And so it identifies. We also have a company called Better Homes and Gardens Resort Collection. It's in Tahoe because people are looking for a lifestyle and they need to identify to that. We will have actually, and Sherry and I have been working on an urban brand because the urban brand has a different look, see, and feel. It really does. And in San Francisco, it's actually, San Francisco is extremely provincial. I can say that because I'm from there. Very, very provincial, but they want to be seen as very different. Not that others don't, but they think they're more important. This is just a picture of an agent website, and the reason I put it up is we would drop into, agent branding. One of the things that we've done, and it's sort of this coalition of stuff, is that one, everybody in the industry wants to differentiate. Everybody also, by the way, wants control of their destiny. So, brands want control of their destiny, brokers want control of their destiny, agents would like to control their destiny. So what we've done is we've given the agents a tremendous amount of latitude to play around with and do that sort of stuff. But the piece that's overlaid in there and that's embedded in there is that if you go to Jim's website today, because of the work with Better Homes and Gardens and the type of work we're doing, a consumer could actually find Starbucks off his website. You can go local and actually start to find what's there. I think that's really critically important because I think the agents become provisioners, if you will, of the consumer. They provision the consumer with information. And ultimately, it is the agent. The only person, by the way, just a point of view, the real estate agent is the last person who's allowed and invited into the home. They no longer have insurance agents, stockbrokers. Nobody goes in the home anymore except for a real estate agent. Think about that as you develop your brand. They're very, very important because they are the person that is face-to-face. They become a trusted source of information. Whether the information is out there or not, and there's now a tremendous amount of information, now they have to become the interpolator of that information because no one can figure out, and that's just to your point, what that information actually and really means. And last but not least, they remain the social psychiatrist of real estate. Because, I came from an industry that worked a lot in crisis management, personal crisis management, and I thought the people there were nuts. And then I got into the real estate business and realized that was just the public. That's who they are. So it is a challenge. Last but not least, it's one business card. It's one business card passed to one client. It's that business card. So we all have business cards. And one of the things, and I just need to be very blunt about this, and it's a great dialogue. Sometime you and I will sit down and talk about this, but agents want control. And what they do with that business card is amazing. And by the way, one of the things that I get a lot is I get clients coming to me saying, was that her high school picture? I don't get it. I met him. He must have photoshopped that thing because we're one of the few industries that have a picture of ourselves. And so, you know, I got finally worn out, and I actually published, and this is the back of my business card if you'd like it, but I got tired of listening to all this haranguing, and I think pictures are relevant for the real estate industry, whether people like it or not. That was taken in 1944, and it's probably my best photo. So, you know, I don't have a lot of answers for you. I do have a lot of questions for you as we think about this development of media and local search. I think the exciting thing, though, is that as I watch the barriers coming down for local search, I think there's tremendous opportunity for this industry to be at a very leading edge and not to be disintermediated. I think that one of the things that we've been afraid of for a very long time is that somehow someone was going to come out, you know, and move our cheese and move our chair. I think that we have a better opportunity than you could ever imagine to be real authorities in our local marketplace.
Thank you, Ed. All right, thank you. And next we'll turn to Diane.
Good afternoon, everyone. My topic's a little bit different. It's going to be on how I created a brand. So I've been licensed for 44 years. The day I turned 19, I got my license. My dad and my grandfather were in real estate, and they used to drive me up to his office in Newark, and I said, you're up, you know, leave at 8, we're home by 1. I want to be a realtor. This is like too easy. So actually, he had driven down to Brielle, New Jersey. We're at the Jersey Shore, and Snooki is not involved with my company, just so you know. I say Jersey Shore, and it's like, oh my God, Snooki's here. I said, no, if you ever watch, never even watched that show. But I remember being there, and he was putting up a sign, and there was a billboard, and I said, Dad, someday I want my own company. I want blue and green, and I want my logo, and I want to be on that billboard. And that's when I was 15 years old, so I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I had no money when I was 19. So what I did was I thought, well, I guess I have to prospect and go out and ask people if they want to buy or sell houses. So I would start having garage sales, and I would put items in it. And people would come and say, you know, how much is this? And I'd say, well, it's nothing if you pass out 100 of my business cards. And they go, you're kidding me. In fact, just last week I posted my granddaughter's 3, and I had bought her a fire engine, which she never used. So I said, let me just put this on Craigslist. So when the person came to my house to pick it up, it was $55. I said, you know what? Here's some cards. It's yours for nothing. I want to give this to your little boy for his first birthday. She goes, you're kidding me, aren't you? I said, no, I'm not. I just really appreciate you giving out my card. This was Thursday. I've gotten 2 listings already from that lady. Who cares about the $50? So that's what I was doing. But then I thought, well, garage sales isn't like I want to be like more, because I wanted to be like Coca-Cola soda, Turton real estate. That was always my dream when I was like 15. So I said, what if I have Tupperware parties? So what I did was I had Mary Kay, Tupperware, and candles all at the same time. But I'd invite 400 people, but if you knew me, you couldn't get in. So they were already my bird dogs. And I had a live belly dancer, food and liquor and entertainment. This is my husband handed me the fire extinguisher. He said, you're nuts, because they had all the candles lit in one room. And the Tupperware lady couldn't find her parking space, and it was her first party. And she was about 80. So she pulls up, she comes in, and it's like mass chaos. I had a new golden retriever that was getting the clickers off the belly dancer's veil. It was like a mess. So the Tupperware lady goes, Mrs. Turton, I was told 8 to 10 people. I don't know if I can do this. Can I have a martini? So she had 2 martinis passed out, and I sold $2,000 worth of Tupperware. And she quit. And the head of the Tupperware came down and didn't understand why this poor lady, her first party, quit. And I didn't even get into that. But if you've ever had one of those parties, they deliver the merchandise in a truck, and it's up to me to deliver it. Well, I would purposely go to the wrong house, because I already made the contact with the person who bought the Tupperware. So that was already a lead. So I'd knock on the door. I'm Diane Turton. Here's your Tupperware. And I knew darn well it wasn't the Tupperware. Oh, that's not mine. I said, you're kidding me. I said, I must be at the wrong house. But don't you know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate? And I would always get a lead. I said, this is way too easy. Why isn't everybody in real estate? This is like so easy. So I said, now it's got to be bigger. So I would go, when I flew Continental, I would page myself at the airport and make like I lost my luggage. In fact, one time I was in the President's Club. I was actually in the bathroom. Thank God my husband wasn't with me. And I heard over the loudspeaker, Diane Turton, come to the front desk. We found your ID. And I'm thinking, I have my passport. What could it be? So I said, if I sit here long enough, maybe they'll page me again. I'll get more leads. So for 45 minutes, I sat in the bathroom. Oh, I got 2 sales out of it, because when I came out, people said, are you the one at the Jersey Shore? We're looking for a house. And it was all about connecting. I mean, I wear my name badge in the shower. I'll fly first class, but walk to the back of the plane to use the bathroom and hold up my brochure just so everybody knows who I am. And I just created this. It was really like a monster. It was ridiculous. And then I was averaging 200 listings a year as an agent. And then I got Tommy Hopkins Champion of the Year award for the country. And I was with him and Zig Ziglar. And they said, Turton, why don't you open your own company? I said, well, I never really thought about it because I'm really a good agent. So how would I do that? And Tom says, oh, Diane, just go and be in the field and help the agents. And you pay people to manage the company. So that's what I did. So when I bought into somebody else's company in '85, we opened, and we went around in the middle of the night and changed all their signs to blue and green. And blue and green really stand out. So it was like all of a sudden, it was like we planted blue and green all over the place. And we had 103 up calls the first day. The agents couldn't even, it was out of control. I mean, it was like ridiculous. And we branded everything with the colors. We were very consistent. We started with 1 office. We had 4 in 1986 and 87. And then in 94, we have 14 today. But on a corporate level, once we had the company, then you have to train your agents to continue the branding that I always did, and I'm in the field branding. So I happened to be at a food bank dinner one day, and they were doing a live auction, which I had never been to. And Jack Ford was there he was back, I think, in ABC then, or CBS, one of them. And he said the grand prize for the live auction bid is to be the weather person on the Today Show. My husband immediately started drinking straight shots. He said, oh, my God, this is going to cost me a fortune because I know she's going to do this. Of course I'm going to do it. I have to be stupid not to. So I outbid everybody. I didn't care. All I could picture was on the Today Show, and I said to Jack, can I bring my Turton banner and hold it up during doing the weather? Of course you can. So I did that, and I wore a navy suit, and the real weather person happened to wear Kelly Green. It was like I paid her to do it, and I had no idea. So on national television, that got me greater exposure. From that, somebody there, Father Alphonse, does these concerts at the beach, and he called me, Diane, would I be a major sponsor at the concerts? I said, well, how many people attend? 15,000. I said, ooh, that's a good audience. For 11 consecutive Wednesdays in the summer. And I said, how much will it cost me? He said, really, whatever you want to donate. And I said, well, I'll do it if your 50-piece orchestra band, because he orchestrated a chorus line for 8 years. He was conductor in New York. If your 50-piece orchestra puts Diane Turton T-shirts on, and you tell everybody to use me. So I figure if a priest tells everybody to use me, they're definitely going to use me. So that really worked. And then I'd work the crowd, because when I work a crowd on the beach, I never go straight. I zigzag through the sand because you can get a lot more bodies that way than go straight. Oh, no. It's like all about, it's so easy. It's who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house? I mean, I never work funeral homes. I won't do that. But, the beaches, the libraries, the schools were very, very involved with the community. From the Alfonso's concerts, mostly the active adult retirement people went there. So I created muffin recipes, which I gave out 20,000 every week. And they would love these recipes, so that gave me more of their business. And then I got a call one day, would I co-do this big program with Christopher Reeves? And I said, kiddingly, I said it nicely, I said, well, if I get to wheel him on stage and introduce him. And they said, of course you can do that. I went, oh, home run on this one. And I really worked with him. He died 5 days after that. And he was one of the best people I ever worked with in my entire life. But it was always just like, you've got to be out in the public eye, let people know who you are. They don't care if you've been in it one day. They want the service. That's all they care about. The biggest problem in this industry, we convert probably 14 to 20% of active walk-in leads. That's a national average, I think, that they did many years ago. I'm thinking now everybody's trying to get all these internet leads. They can't even convert they're only converting 15% of the live bodies that are walking in. And there's only 24 hours in a day. So I think you've got to get your sphere, work it, and then ask for the business. It's constant. Do you want to buy or sell a house? Everybody always talks real estate. And they can go on the internet all they want and search the information. But they still want to know there's a person there. And now, The discount brokers, to me, are gone. The people are here that have the knowledge, have the skill. We got a great group of people here, and that's what it's all about. The public wants the service, the bottom line service. And your kids, I mean, when my kids were young, I did major in real estate in college, have a 4-year degree. I started out in psychology, which you definitely need. And then I switched to the School of Real Estate, have a 4-year degree. But then I went to night school and got my teacher's degree so I could student teach and substitute and ask the kids whose parents were selling their houses. That's all I cared about. And I would get these. I always wanted 3rd and 4th grade. Oh, no, 3rd and 4th grade tell everything. I close it or I go, okay, kids, who's moving? Tell me who's moving. And it would be like a game. And they'd all bring me names of neighbors and friends. And I go, oh, my God, another. In fact, my record, I had 18 listings in 1 week. 5 in one night, and I had 55 closings in 1 month. And it was just all repeat business. I averaged probably 150 units a year, and of that, probably 30 sales and the rest listings, because even to this day, I love listings. And the closings, I would tell all the agents that had the buyers on my listings, you know what? Don't go to the closing. I'll bring you your check. And they go, oh, you're kidding me. Well, why did I want them there? I wanted the rapport with the attorney, with the paralegal, with everybody. So when they sold again, they think I sold the house. And that's what happened. I mean, every year, you should make more and more and work less and less because everybody's just giving your name out. But if you go up in public and say, who's your attorney, somebody can answer. Who's your doctor, you can answer. Who's your realtor? They look at you like you're nuts because we don't make that impression. I mean, 75 hours in New Jersey to be a realtor and 12 years to be a brain surgeon. That's insane. So you've got people out there that literally don't have a clue. And I think if the strong, like I've always said, the strong will survive. You've just got to do your job, do it well. I still don't understand why you've got Open Table if anybody's ever gone online to make a restaurant reservation. Well, why don't they have that for realtors? If we need a reservation. I would love a billboard. Call for a reservation today. If you're lucky, you'll get an appointment with me. I mean, think about it. I mean, I'm serious. Everybody laughs. I want to pay 50 people in front of all my offices every day, $10 an hour, just stand there. What's going on at Turton's? I don't know, get in line. And they get in line. I remember I was in New Orleans, and I saw this big line in a restaurant. So I said to my husband, what's going on? I crossed the street, and I said to the last person, what's this? Oh, this is the best place to eat. We got in line. It was the worst place I've ever eaten in my life. But everybody went there because everybody else was too. I mean, think about it. Really, the food was horrible. But, people tend to go. Why does Macy's one-day sales drive people? Nobody needs anything. Everybody else is going too. So you got to create that. And then once you create it, you've got to give the service. We've been lucky. We've got really good agents. We've got 14 offices and about 350 agents. I've got a full marketing team, internet team. No, we're not a big franchise and big global like a lot of people are, but that's just the way my company is. We recently hired a consulting firm. I paid for all the agents to sit with this person one-on-one for an hour. Those, I didn't make it mandatory, but those that wanted to participate could. I feel if they don't want to have strategic business plans, and they ought to have their own already. And they've joined, and this is a 1-year commitment that they're paying for, not me. And they are so excited. There's so much energy right now in the company that he gives us great taglines, and he's actually flies up from Florida every week to meet with my agents, and he's phenomenal. I can give you his name and number. But I think, the real estate industry's been very good to me. When the kids were young, I used to take them with me in appointments. Like one time I was in doing a listing. I used to have a flashlight white out, because back then we didn't have fax machines or computers. 12 listing presentations, 12 contracts in my car. My car was my office. And I used to pay the kids $5 each, sit in the car. And, I'm going to run in. Today you'd be arrested with typhus. I'll be right out. And one time the woman goes, Mrs. Turton, who was beeping your horn? It was my son. He wanted $10 instead of $5. I said, oh, please. Or I used to hide the milk and tell my husband I'm going to Food Town. I was going to a listing. Come back, take the milk out, put it back. It's a game. It's fun. But I love rejection. I love it when they hate us. I think everybody should use a realtor. I think FSBO should be a criminal offense. That's just how I think. And I think you have to spread that to your agents. And I don't have a lot of turnover, but when somebody leaves, a lot of times they'll come back. I always leave the door open. Everybody thinks the grass is greener on the other side. And you want people on your team that are happy. There's nothing worse than having a bad apple on your team, because they'll bring everybody else down. And sometimes the high producers are the bad apples. And the other energy is in the people that don't make a lot of money, but they're good company people and they're out there. But we are very involved with communities. When I was a kid, my father used to bring us to Kessler Institute. I'm one of 7 kids, and he said, look at these kids with no limbs, no nothing. We used to give Easter candy. Be thankful for what you got. And that's what you got to do. I mean, look at today you turn on the news, this one got killed, this one. It's nuts. It's what's happening. You got to live for today. I totally believe in the real estate business. I've never worked for anybody else in my life. One day I quit. Remember, take that job and shove it. I was out in a 9-to-5 job. And it's just fun. It's a game. And you play the game to win. You never knock your competition. I think we're all in it together. And I just, I branded it in a way just to get it to where I wanted it. And, what's next? Who knows with me? I'm like Barry. I'll do whatever comes. So, all right, that's it.
Great. Thank you. Wow. Let me talk to my 8-year-old tonight about what he tells a school teacher. That's going to be an interesting conversation. Yeah, he tells everything. That's fantastic. 3 really interesting perspectives. Okay, let's throw the question board up. Any questions from the audience directly? A lot of good insight about brand idea systems, keeping it very aligned, global brand, the tactics you use to be successful. You taught me a lot. It was fantastic.
Same thing with the news media, just to get out there with the news media, because like one day I got a call from Neil Cavuto's office, would I be on a show? I said, what? So I went up blind, had no idea. I figured they'd give me the questions. Oh no, not Neil Cavuto. It's like Larry King. You're on live and they count backwards and you're on. And you can see it if you go on YouTube. It's still on there. But I mean, to me, I said yes. I didn't know what I was getting into, but I said, why would I say no? You're in front of millions of people. It's a national television show. So anytime the media calls you, like I take the calls, I'm very cautious, but to be on live TV, the more people you get in front of, like branding, that's what branding is. It's name recognition. They want to know who you are, and that's just the way I run the company. So
hold that thought. Here's a question for you, for each of you. What happens if a broker agent rejects your brand, kind of goes off on their own? What do you do then?
Reject that? I never really had anybody. You mean if they leave you?
Well, they create their own brand that's very different than your own, and they break.
I never had that happen. I've never had anybody create a brand. They ride on my coattails, because what happened when we first opened the company, I had so many listings. There's so many quality listings. I was just giving them to the agents. Take this, take that, take this. And I have a driver now, and I sit in the back seat, and all I do is do the deals all day. I negotiate the sales for the agents. That's all I do. I don't sit in an office. I'm out on the road all day.
Ed or Noelle? I think you're on.
You're right. So I've had it happen.
Yeah.
I've had red signs turned blue, blue signs turned yellow. I've had people being very creative, and that's the point I was making, is that there needs to be in our industry, a kind of latitude, but a latitude within brand development and an understanding of what the purpose of the latitude is, by the way. So it's not so much a rejection of the brand, or as much as it is a desire to be in control. And then there's a certain latitude you can allow, and then at a certain place, and I think Sherry would agree with me, you just can't go there. It just won't work. It begins disintegrating what you have. And by the way, then it tends to move in the same direction as an undifferentiated experience, because usually what those people are doing is different than the real estate you practice. In a very interesting way, they start to relegate your brand as being irrelevant. So there's a certain membrane from which you can't move, but you do need to develop some ability for latitude, for creativity, because, by the way, I have 2,000 agents. I also have 2,000 marketing directors.
Right.
Not one of them does not have an opinion about marketing. Not one of them.
For Windermere, we're fortunate in a sense that our 300 owners have bought into the concept that there are 3 sacred cows. One is the logo and the usage of it. The second is the business cards, and that's been a battle. just because we changed them. And then the third is signage. So the calls that need to be made by, my brand cop are calls that they're going to get, and they need to do something about it. So in that sense, we have good cooperation. When it gets into the personal marketing stuff and it starts to get a little crazy and squirrely, I've actually eliminated the term brand compliant from our language, because I just think compliance means control, and nobody wants that. For me, it's best to collaborate, to understand what their goals are, what their motivations are. How can I, help you, help me, and how can we work together? We do a lot of free creative work to say, I have to earn that trust from them, and then I'll say, do you mind if I take a stab at this so I can maybe make it better for both of us? And gosh, nobody's ever turned me down. But I think that comes from building relationships and earning trust. And I try and ask a lot of questions just because I am so new to this game. But it's there's occasionally those ones where I'm not even going to have a conversation. Right. It's a losing battle, and nobody's going to win, and it's not worth the end game.
Jamie, how much time do we have for this session?
We have plenty of time. So
okay, because till 2. Okay, because there are some great questions here. I want to come back to Nicole in a sec, but for everyone, there's a question here. How do you keep your brand from feeling stale? What do you do to keep your brand exciting?
That's not difficult for me.
Yeah.
It's 110 days old, so I'll call you later.
Okay.
Well, we came out with the signature of success long ago, and we just recently redid all our marketing materials. I mean, the colors are still the same, but we tweaked some of the pictures. One big thing I forgot to mention before that we really got into was my son had come to me and said, Mom, why don't you get a billboard? I said, a billboard? You're kidding me. So we had a billboard on the Garden State Parkway going over and saying, welcome to the Jersey Shore. That was a huge impact. I mean, the company just took off to a whole different level when we started using that billboard. I mean, big. I mean, it was like $30,000 a month. But I did it for about 3 years. I mean, you don't have to do it consistently, but let me tell you something, that really, really worked. But we've tweaked our colors, we've redesigned different pieces, the way they fold, we do that every couple of years automatically.
Fantastic. There's a question. First of all, Dan, there's a comment. It says, Diane, you're an inspiration.
Oh, God, I'm nuts.
Fantastic. I think your story humanized your brand, and it was pretty interesting.
Well, it's a game. It's like fun. It's like, this isn't work. I can't imagine doing anything else. I mean, it's just so much fun. Yeah.
Noelle, there's a question for you. Maybe you can do this within 5 or 8 minutes. Can you dive a little deeper into the 7 brand components? Positioning and tone and messaging. Take 2 or 3 of those and really dive out what you think would really be helpful that people understand how to apply to their brokerage. Can we jump back to that presentation?
Brand positioning, and I kind of want to get back to some of the words that Ed was sharing with us about this whole hyper local and how, even with positioning. By the way, I grew up in Marin County, so I'm very familiar with Moraga and Contra Costa and from a number of those hoods. And actually, parents grew up in the San Francisco area. Anyway, love that area. Very diverse. And so when you get into that hyper-local place, this positioning exercise is really cool. And if you want to write down the words, I'll give them to you. It's like Mad Libs, as I mentioned. So for a target audience. So insert target audience, whatever that, for this person, this family, these people that want to sell their house because the kids are going to college, yada, yada, for this target audience. And the target audience can be made up of a demographic profile, a geographic profile, a psychographic profile. I mean, we have a lot of our agents that do a lot of business just with Microsofties. That's their target. So for that target audience, who need what? So understand what they need. And I love the way Diane just breaks it down. You're either going to buy or sell a house. You should get a little deeper than that. But thank you. So what do they need? For target audience, who needs what? You are the agent, or in Windermere's case, we're the company. Let's stick with the agent model. You are the agent who delivers what functional benefits, plural, and emotional benefits with what competitive advantage. So when we went through this exercise, it was like a 3-hour class that I did. It was really fun because I asked the agents to come up and just list off all their competitive advantage, because I think somebody said earlier, there really isn't a lot, we're not that different. Well, these people definitely thought they were different, and I had 2 pages of notes of how they were different or how they were better, which is really wonderful to be part of an organization that thinks so highly of themselves. But let me go back to the functional benefits. I think that's a really deep list. Everybody says kind of the same things. That's where the commodity piece of this comes. When you ask people to think about the emotional benefits you're providing to your clients, it was hard. I said, everybody, I want you to. We're going to talk about feelings now. We're going to talk about, you guys talk about psychiatry and getting connected to somebody, having an emotional bond. We all have friends. Some friends are casual acquaintances, and some we are deeply connected to. And so the richer, that deeper that connection you can have with your clients, and you're constantly staying in front of their face, the more business you're going to get. So we talk a lot about that. So it's for a particular target audience who need what from you. You are the agent that provides what functional and what emotional benefits with what competitive advantage. Okay, your brand promise. This is a tough one, because a brand promise is something you're going to have to deliver every time. No exceptions, no excuses. It's a brand promise. So Comcast, everybody have Comcast? Everybody knows Comcast. So they don't come into your house with their shoes on. I think that's awesome. Because don't you hate or strongly dislike, I shouldn't use the H word, I'm telling my kids not to. So when people come into your home and you've got the nice carpets and they don't take off their shoes and they ruin your stuff, I just thought that was brilliant. So every Comcast person that comes in your house is going to take off their shoes. That's a nice brand promise. That's just one of their promises. I think they have a customer service turnaround time promise as well. Core values. Boy. I think this is kind of the cultural compass of an organization. We all have our own individual core values, and so companies have core values as well. The more you articulate them, the more connected people feel to the company. Like, I get that. I am like that. I do value family. I do value community. Those kinds of things. Brand character, we're a humble company. The first day I walked in there, they said, Noelle, no chest beating. I'm like, what's chest beating? The big I, and we don't talk about our awards, and we don't talk about how great we are, and it's a quiet confidence, and it's humility, and we're of service. And I went, got it. That came down loud and clear. Which those types of things start to affect your messaging and how you talk about yourself. And sometimes our agents aren't always as humble as the company or the family. So that's a hard thing, because right there you're getting brand delusion, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Tone and voice, ours is more of a conversational, smile in your voice type of tone, not the chest beating tone. And then our graphic standards, that's like a 30-page document of web fonts, everything from colors to signage to business cards, all that stuff.
Very good.
Does that help?
It does. It does. I'm going to pick up the questions. I think a question for each of you was social media and brand. Is it tricky maintaining brand with social media practices? I assume you all use social media in your business. We've heard that. How does brand and social media fit?
For me, I'll just go to tone and go back to tone. And it's sort of interesting when you talk about that there's a different tone in different venues, because if you go, what I don't like, I can tell you what I don't like is, if you're seeing something on the Facebook that says, so-and-so corporate is pleased to announce it's a regular announcement of somebody being elevated in position. Well, that's not social media. You're just doing a press release on Facebook. And it's annoying. It doesn't really harmonize to what the intention of Facebook is, although I'm not sure exactly the total intention. The flip of it is you don't want people becoming so intimate that you've got a form of blogging taking place with too much information. We actually had a client, this is a true story, where a client actually wrote on Facebook that she'd got an offer from somebody else and that she wasn't going to take the offer, she was going to counter, but in fact she would take full price. So that's not a good tone to have. We've gone too far on the other level. So for me, it's about which media you're using to develop tone for, because it feels different to me when we're out in Facebook as opposed to some other place. So just an observation, that's it.
Okay.
For us, in the social media world, we've really tried to deliver true value-added content that helps people. So, and we encourage our agents to share what we are creating internally on a weekly basis, all the content, whether it's about buying or selling or remodeling or living or whatever the topic is, so that we can control the tone. And it's great when the agents do share it. What we are trying to discourage is exactly what Ed is talking about. And it's not easy because there's a lot of gunslinging going on in the social media realm. But again, if we can provide that service, I mean, agents don't have time to be coming up with topics and writing stuff, an article, I mean, some do, and some do it quite effectively, but the majority, I guess that third everybody's talking about, they'd rather just take some of that content and share it with their sphere and really deliver something of value.
Maybe a question related. Do you actually monitor brand? What agents are putting out there, how they're using the social aspects, what they have on their websites? Do you effectively monitor that?
We do.
How do you do that?
Tara, who runs our social media, uses some tool that I'm unaware of, but she gives me a monthly report. We're kind of light, frankly. There's not a lot going on with our listening tools, but what's growing are, just the number of folks following us, and then also the number of the sharing that's going on. We can see there's a few of our offices in different states that do it on a very consistent basis. Once we post, we see the Mercer Island office post, or the Moses Lake office post. It's part of their routine.
Okay. Before I wrap up, one question, Diane, that's up here is, Diane, did you say you negotiate for your agents?
Yes, when they have a deal and they're like close and they can't make it, then they call in me. And I love to drop prices. I mean, that's like my favorite thing. So, I mean, I'll sit in the back seat and do 20 in an hour. But the agent has to email me the MLS number and the client's name. I won't do the, paperwork and things. I've done, I think, 5 or 6 while I've been here at the conference. And, it's the same old line. This is Diane Turton. I'm very upset your house hasn't sold. If you had an offer of $600, would you take it? If it's at $650, yeah, I'll take it. Oh, good. $599. I'll send you the paperwork. Done. I mean, it's like they answer the question. It's so easy. And if they say, no, I want this, well, then who's motivated and who's not. But that dialogue's for everybody, And I say to the agents, always blame me. Diane did a special meeting today. She doesn't understand why your house isn't sold, and she wants to know if you had an offer of this, would you take it? And you have an immediate response from a seller. You'll know instantly whether they're motivated or not. But I'll negotiate on the listings. I'll go on listing appointments with the agents. I love to do that too. I went on one when I first opened the company, and actually an agent went and they said, we want to know if she's real or if it's like Betty Crocker. And they didn't even think I was real. No, and then this woman makes me do this whole presentation. She goes, Diane, I just really want to know if you existed. I really don't want to sell my house. I said, well, you should have just asked me. People are nuts. But no, that's my expertise. If I'm good at making the deal and negotiating and talking to the buyers and sellers, that's what I do all day. You know, I'm not going to sit there and manage. That's not my style. I go claustrophobia.
Wow,
Okay.
that's great. In closing, if you had one insight, one coaching tip for brand for 2011, what would it be?
Mine's all about consistency.
Mine's about going local, hyper local. Get down into that locality.
And mine's, you know, consistency and getting the agents, well, mine really have bought into the brand and believe in the brand. I mean, you can't have people working for you that don't believe in your company, because you need the attitude. That is so important in this business, to be up, you know, and to always be up and to be happy. And those that aren't shouldn't be in the real estate business, really. And there's people that either hate this business, or people say, Diane, how can you do this? It's god awful. You have no, really, they hate it. And other people that just, you know, embellish it and thrive on it.
Thank you. Big round of applause for Diane.